Hey folks, so the news was heavy today, yeah? So I'm just coming on because I was shuffling some cards and didn't record that part. And so I've got some pre-shuffled cards here. If you don't believe me, then you can keep scrolling. But they popped out, and I just wanna see if I can do a quick reading on what happened today with Kirk. And my question was, who was involved and will there be others? Now, I asked those questions because my guides have already given me some intuitive hits on things. I do feel like there will be other attempts. And so we're going to see, though, what the cards say. And we already know the details, right? Like the person was in a building about 200 yards away. They seemed pretty skilled at this. There was only one pew, and they hit their target and took them out. So, all right, who was involved was the question, and will there be others? The first question up was the Scorpio card. So I'm reading from the Celestial Bodies deck. If you like the deck, I got a link in my bio, Art and Oracle. But the first card up was the Scorpio card, and then the 8 card, the 2 card, Jupiter, the square as the qualifier, and on the bottom of the deck is the 4th house card. Now this is a numerology and astrology oracle deck, about 84 cards with two booklets. So who's involved? Well, here we go, a card representing all of the secret underworld shit that they've been getting themselves into with these epi files and all of the players that really desperately want to stay hidden. And so I feel like this is very much talking about that. All of the secrets here. I'm going to say that this represents the secrets because intuitively that's what it feels like. This is also a card that talks about sexual energy, and so we can connect those dots, right? So I would say, who was involved? Well, somebody who's trying to keep themselves, who they're on the list clearly, and they want to keep themselves and their actions and their involvement hidden, and they're willing to go to great lengths to do so. And here is the number 8. Now, Scorpio also represents 8, and 8 is about power, materialistic stuff. A focus on that. So it tells me the reasons that they want to keep themselves hidden is so that they can keep their status, their power, their money, their possessions. And then we've got 2. Now, there's a couple of ways, there's many ways actually that we can read these cards, but only 10 minutes here on TikTok, right? So the 2, I would say, is talking about the number of attempts, because I heard that hours ago when I tuned in about it, that there would be 2 more attempts. And the first people that came to mind, now just understand that energy changes, and so hopefully this energy changes. And also I receive images that often are symbolic, sometimes metaphors, sometimes an analogy for an entire reading if I'm doing a client reading. And so I say that because the 2 figures that came out were higher up, and allegedly this is all for entertainment purposes. There are no threats that I am making. One was a woman, one is a man, and one recently kind of changed her tune, right? Switched her tune up and has been more vocal about getting everyone's name who's on the list out in the public. Blonde hair, bad built, butch body. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. And so again, just remember that these images can be symbolic. So it could just be representing someone that's higher up and closer than Kirk was to the WH in terms of their role, right? The other person was Couch Boy. I don't know what he has been saying or will be saying in the near future here about the epiphiles. But again, it might just represent someone higher up. And then with this card, Jupiter, right? So this too can also signify like the peacemaker and the person who is humble, the person who speaks from their heart and wants to do good things. And when things don't work out, then they feel heartbroken about it. And at first I started to go that route because Jupiter, we know, is a planet of expansion, abundance, I believe. It's really good when it shows up. But the flip side of Jupiter is self-destruction, right? So it's got its negative attributes too. So self-destruction and, you know, all things that are sabotage-esque, right? And so with this card here, and then with Jupiter next door, I could read it the positive way, or I could read it, you know, the way that I initially saw it, as this representing the attempts, and then this being more along the lines of a destructive path. And the qualifier was definitely signaling the destructive path, because a square is combative. It like is the fuel for the fire, and it combusts things and breaks us away from any sort of resistance, but in a very confrontational, combative way. And so this was saying, nope, don't read it in the fluffy, feel-good way. Read it the way that you initially interpreted it, as there would be potentially 2 more attempts. This is information coming out here. So regardless of what this person is trying to keep a secret, right? You see how that changes there? Here was the first card, here's the other one. The secrets laying in wait, and then they're unearthed. And then we've got the 4th house on the bottom of the card. Now this is telling me that in addition to them being really concerned about holding on to their possessions and their power and their belongings and whatever status they have and whatever money they have, they're also concerned about their reputation and their private sector. What will the people think who are a part of my private realm about the egregious acts that I have been a part of, that I'm holding as secrets that I am willing to pew people over, or at least hire someone to do so. Now, in addition to that, I know Kirk was also kind of stepping away from the orange blob over these epiphiles and speaking out more about them. And so they just couldn't have that, could they? And so when you think about this too, well, think about the other people who are stepping away and speaking out in a way that's detrimental to upholding all of those secrets.